Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics. So, as journalists pick through the details of the leaked files reportedly from Boris Johnson's office, the BBC have pulled an interesting one out. Although Labour are toughening up laws around foreign donations, it's already been illegal for some time for political parties to accept donations from foreign citizens. But Downing Street have revealed that documents from Boris Johnson's time as Prime Minister appear to show that the Conservatives may have accepted millions in illegal donations. Now, if this is the case, what needs to be done about it? But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. Right, so we're going to the BBC for this. Let's read this. This is a beauty, this is. So it says, a foreign billionaire had a Downing Street meeting and phone calls with then Prime Minister Boris Johnson and was described in an official log as a donor. Documents seen by BBC News reveal. Right? Syrian-born former arms dealer Wafik Saeed is not allowed to make political donations. So that's really clear. He's not eligible to make political donations in the United Kingdom. He's not on the electoral roll, but his wife, a British citizen who is resident, has declared £2.6 million in donations to the Conservatives over the last 25 years. So that's all fine, right? If it's her money and it's genuinely come from her, that's fine because she is entitled. It says the couple have always insisted that she is independently wealthy, therefore she can afford to do it. It's not like he's just passed money to her and then she's donated it. That would be illegal because the money's come from him. No. It's saying, look, she's got the money to do it and she has chosen to do it independently. All legal, all above board. But then it says, however, the number 10 file seen by BBC News cast doubt on this explanation, raising questions about whether the Conservatives have illegally accepted millions in donations. A Conservative Party spokesman said proper due diligence was undertaken to ensure that these donations were permissible and accurately reported. Now, what I'm going to say to that is, how do they know? How do they know? Obviously, it's the sort of thing you're going to say, right? But do they really know it was? If a lot of this... have they actually gone back to their files and made sure? But anyway, let's continue. Johnson did not respond to a request for comment. Mr. Saeed, rather than his wife Rosemary, was described as the donor in official Downing Street logs when the pair attended a nearly 90-minute meeting with Johnson. So, in their own logs, because what you have to do, if Boris Johnson's in Downing Street, right, any calls he takes or any meetings he has to be logged by the civil service. He is the Prime Minister, so any government business gets logged as government business, right, and that has to follow a load of rules. But he is also leader of the Conservative Party at the time, and he is allowed to conduct party business as long as he's not using public resources to do it. But he is still party leader. He is going to hold phone calls in his role as party leader. That all gets logged as well, but it's logged separately. It's his party business, not government business. You have to have that clear separation, right, between what is party business, what is government business. And it's saying here, so everything's recorded, everything's logged, and it's Mr. Saeed who is not lawfully allowed to donate to the Conservative Party, who in the official logs has been described as a donor, because it's like, who's Boris Johnson talking to? What is their role? Donor. Not, we'll come to it in a minute, not anything else. So straight away, they've logged someone who's not legally allowed to donate to the Conservative Party as a donor talking to Boris Johnson about Conservative Party matters, right? That is really important to remember in a moment. Then it says, Downing Street log, when the pair attended a nearly 90-minute meeting with Johnson, his Chief of Staff and Political Secretary at number 10 in September 2019. The meeting took place less than 2 months after Johnson had been elected Prime Minister, right? So it's a time when, of course, remember, we know at the time Boris Johnson was actively after a general election. He wanted a general election. So, of course, he would be eliciting donations because his entire strategy, it was not his strategy to struggle on as a minority government leader, right? He wanted a general election. The businessman who said his wife was the donor also had two separate phone calls with then Prime Minister Johnson in 2020 and 2021 without his wife taking part, according to the logs. So she's not taking part in any of this. The man in charge of raising funds for the Conservatives, then party chairman Sir Ben Elliott, joined the 2020 phone call, even though it would have been illegal for Mr. Said, who was listed in the logs as being from his philanthropic Said Foundation, to donate. Now, it's worth pointing out, and it makes this clear in the article, he's a man who has genuinely donated to some good causes. He's been behind some dodgy causes as well, right? You know, one of these people, mixed bag. So he's known as a philanthropist. That's all fine. Then it says Johnson placed the second call during a journey back by train from Stoke-on-Trent to London. He made 2 political phone calls during the trip. So they're logged as political, to do with party business, not government business. The first to a donor, the second to Mr. Said. The logs, which are recorded by civil servants and give a minute-by-minute account of Johnson's days, covering almost all of his time in Downing Street, shows no calls between Rosemary Said and the former Prime Minister. So he didn't talk to her at all during this time when she's supposedly donating to the Conservative Party. The calls and the meeting were labelled as political, meaning they related to Conservative Party matters, not government business, and did not have to be disclosed in government transparency documents. Other political meetings and phone calls recorded in the logs were between Johnson and Conservative Party donors, ministers, staff or advisors, right? Then it says Mr. Said, who is 85, said he had known Johnson since long before he became Prime Minister. Due to his age, he cannot recall the telephone conversations while he was in Downing Street. Okay, it's the usual thing, don't recall, sorry. Okay. He added, it was entirely possible that he may have called to thank me for my contribution to COVID vaccine research. No, that is not possible, because these phone calls were logged as party business, political. If Boris Johnson had contacted him to thank him for, you know, the work of anything he's doing, because, you know, he has a lot of organisations that he funds, if he's had any role at all in developing a COVID vaccine at the time, and Boris Johnson phoned him to thank him for that, he would have phoned him as Prime Minister. He would have phoned him on behalf of a grateful nation, right? The Prime Minister, that's government business. This was party political business. The documents seen by the BBC were obtained by an American non-profit organisation called Distributed Denial of Secrets. They're the ones that The Guardian have been reporting on, which publishes and archives leaked and hacked data sets. They haven't responded to a request either. Now, isn't that interesting? So we have a situation where Boris Johnson has logged as Prime Minister at least 3 calls with Mr. Said, who is not permitted to donate to the Conservative Party. They've all been on party political business, not government business, got nothing to do with COVID vaccines or anything like that, party political business. No calls logged with Rosemary Said, who is legally allowed to donate and, according to the books, has been the one who has been donating. This is interesting. This certainly bears investigation. It definitely bears investigation. The Conservatives are saying all due diligence was applied, but was it? And another thing is, why was the party chairman I mean, Boris Johnson, remember, all of these calls are him as party leader, not Prime Minister. They're logged because he was the Prime Minister, and therefore the civil service log everything he does, apart from that one time as Foreign Secretary when he skipped and had a bunga bunga party, right, with KGB agents. But, you know, as Prime Minister, everything was logged, right? Everything he did was logged, including his party political business by the civil service. Those logs are in Downing Street. They can look at them now. So it's interesting enough that Boris Johnson talks to this man who's not legally entitled to donate to a political party on party political business. But to do so with the party chairman, there needs to be questions. They need to ask what the call was about. That is not logged because it was party political business. That doesn't get recorded in the same way that government business would. But it is logged as party political business. And because we're talking, like, although this is talking about donations over a 25-year period, not just when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, but if we work on this, the hypothesis that Mr. Said has donated all 2.6 million to the Conservatives, that his wife was effectively, even if she's independently wealthy enough to donate herself, if in actual fact he was the person wanting those donations made, then that means the Conservatives are potentially being given £2.6 million, which is substantial, of donations illegally. Now, it may end up being all above board, but there are certainly questions here, and should there not be a serious investigation that demands of Boris Johnson that he says what those calls were about? Because why would the leader of the Conservative Party have several meetings with a man on party political business, not government business, when he's not allowed to donate to them? What were they talking about that was party business that isn't donations? Were they spending all that time asking him if he'd go door knocking for them? I don't think so. But there we are anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And until next time, I'll see you later.